Go live.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we're live. 4:00 p.m. Canoga Park, California, June 1st, 2023. And this episode is brought to you by EagleRider Motorcycle Rentals and Tours. Don't forget to check out 2LaneLIVE.com to learn how you can travel, save money, do all that good stuff. Who do we have in the house today?
Well, before we say that, I mean, I had to switch to whiskey because New Belgium has not delivered on their beer.
I cracked a C4 that I got at an event recently, and I've been kind of tripping out for the past hour, but it's okay. Skin's just crawling.
And so I knew we were going to do a piece with EagleRider today. So these are Harley socks, but they're EagleRider
EagleRider colors, beautiful.
Right?
Ah, beautiful.
This is Shawn Fechter.
Fechter.
Okay. Sorry.
Nobody gets it right.
we were trying to look at it earlier, and then your title's so long. Like capital markets and no.
It is. It's ridiculous.
But welcome to our studio. We've been on the phone a few times. We're proud to have you here. You wanted to come up and be live in person. We mentioned maybe we'd do this over stream. You're like, no way, I want to come up into the studio.
Yeah, I've been a fan of the show. So I mean, if you're going to be on it, you got to be live and
right.
Face to face, always more fun. And who doesn't want to drive an hour and a half to Canoga
Park?
Do it live.
And that's only 20 minutes, 20 miles.
It is.
No, I'm kidding.
Crazy, yeah.
But it's not that
crazy.
far.
Yeah.
So no. So hey, thanks for all the support you guys have given us since really kind of October of last year. We started putting you on the sponsor on the live, so we appreciate that. And we've also had bikes from you guys, and you guys have just been great. We have fans that show up all the time here on EagleRider bikes, and we tell them, hey, did you use our link? But they're from all over the country, from all over the globe. We just had a group here the other day from London that was going down to pick up his experience in the EagleRider bike. So cool stuff, and we like it too because we don't necessarily always have to ride our bikes.
Yeah,
we can jump on a plane and go to a destination where we don't have to take 5 days to get there, and be on a bike and do that trip in 5 days and be back.
Well, that's the important thing. And the cool thing about EagleRiders, we all love riding our own bikes. You all want to be on your own bike. But when you go somewhere where you can't really take your bike, you can take a Harley or whatever you ride. So you can still get that experience. And like you said, you get home quicker.
We call it a bike in your suitcase. That's the beauty of EagleRider. And it was cool when I started 14 years ago, and we had, I think, 12 or 15 locations, and it's even cooler today. We've got almost 230 locations. We just opened 2 in Brazil, so we can now say that we're on 6 continents. And I'll tell you, find me a motorcycle rental place in Antarctica, and I'll get us set up there too. But right now, I think we're stuck on 6 continents for a while.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah. That's why I was hanging out with at our offices with Jesse James Dupree from Full Throttle Saloon. Yeah. By the way, you got that's a guy you got to have.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about it might be a 4-hour episode.
That's okay.
With Jesse, because he's a master storyteller, but he had a great line. He said, an EagleRider bike. He said, what you got to get into people is that an EagleRider bike is your bike. It's just an extension of what you ride at home. And I think you hit it on the head is that, of course, we would all love to ride our own bike to Sturgis if you had 3 weeks.
Right.
A week to get there, a week to hang out, and a couple of days to recover, and then a week to ride home. But that's the great thing. We've got, you mentioned Sturgis. It's a great example. We've got 2 locations right there, one right at the Rapid City Airport and one out at Full Throttle Saloon. So you could fly in, get a bike, enjoy the rally. I mean, it doesn't say, it's not like a rental car. It doesn't have a rent me all over the side. Nobody's going to know, except for maybe the pipes, that it's not your own bike.
Well, the funny thing is you mentioned that one year we did go to Sturgis, and my son Lance and his buddy Jeff Seabear, they were with us and they had to go, but they had to get back. So we all went on the same trip, but they took 2 EagleRider bikes.
Yeah.
They left them there and flew back home.
But I think for us, when we first started this stuff, we could go, it was tough because we'd go do like a weekend trip and get 1 episode. Then we're like, well, that's stupid because we're gone every weekend and now we got to go during the week. And so we said, okay, let's just go out a week at a time. That gives us 3 weeks back in the shop. It allows Josh to edit, a little bit better, and it allows us to fulfill, all of our sales. And it's gotten to be so busy that there's no way we could take a 16-day trip. So I love it. If we're going to jump on a plane, boom, we take the wives, yay or nay. we're on the bikes and we're back, and we've just only blown a week.
Who makes that decision on taking the wives, by the way? Is that you guys?
The wives
I'm going to assume it's them.
The wives make the decision when they see where we're going.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're like,
we don't
you're going to
there.
Canada. We want to go with you. Oh, you're going here. Oh, we want to go.
I'm going to guess they don't do any of the November trips.
They've
Mountains.
been in the snow. They've been in the wind, and they don't complain. They suit up. They love it. They love the nightlife when we're in a town. So they are full troopers. They've never complained, and they've ridden all year.
Well, and I think the other thing about it, we picked up some motorcycles in Milwaukee and rode to Maine. We picked up some motorcycles, down in Tennessee and rode through Tennessee and Kentucky on roads that we've never been on and roads that they've never been on. And they just love the experience of that. So the motorcycles not only taken us to some of these just quaint, unique places, they've been able to experience that too.
I tell people all the time, and it's cool that you brought that up. First of all, my wife is a very fair weather rider. If it's below 75, she's not going anywhere near the motorcycle. I'll tell you that. We met when I was living in Mexico, and we've been in Southern California for 14 years now. So she's a very fair weather rider. But I tell people all the time, and just like I'm sure when you guys run into people and they say, "Oh my God, it must be so cool doing what you guys do and making a living, spending time on the road and just talking about and living all things motorcycles." And I get the same thing having been in the motorcycle tour business. I mean, I've been EagleRider for 14, but I've been running tours, guiding tours with other companies with a buddy of mine for more than 20 years. And so people always say, "It must be so cool to ride motorcycles." And it's because doing Maine or that ride from San Francisco to LA down the Pacific coast, it's cool in a car. It's cool to go do Glacier National Park in a car, or to Yellowstone in a park. But man, when you do it from the back of a motorcycle, the perspective, and it's just a completely different experience from a motorcycle than you're going to get in any other kind of vehicle.
Well, we just dropped 3 episodes where we took our daughters out.
I saw that.
And I mean, to watch them, his daughter's got a couple of children. So she's a mom. She's always kind of, and my daughter's, younger and starting her career and doing, so it was just, they meshed together, but the freedom that they felt, on the back of that bike, they were totally relaxed. Yeah. Had a great time. They were great on film. Loved the dinners, loved the lunches, just loved being out there. With the first half hour we're out, we went through the Fillmore, which has orange groves and the blossoms, and you can just smell. And then we went past that. There's a field where they were cutting cilantro. And so you just get this, and it vibrant,
Did it make you want to pull a nearest taco stand?
Of course.
Yeah. So they love it. Now they are hooked, and they're going to want to go at least once a year with us, so.
But I imagine an incredible bonding experience for you guys too, to be out there and not have the stress and the pressures of home and work and school, and just be able to be on the road with your daughters, or when you're out with your wives. And we
all travel well. So it's good. We all like the same stuff. So going, hey, let's go eat there. It's not like, I don't want to eat there. It's a good.
Right. And we've traveled before. We went down the Kern River with them and stuff like that, but they've never, my daughter, he's taken his daughter to lunch once up to Ohio or something, but mine maybe had ridden around the block with me. So to take her out for 3 days, was very special. And my son was like, "Dad, you look so happy." I'm like, "I don't look happy with your mother." Like,
that's awesome.
Very cool. There was a comment that you put up that said he made a decision. Is it Wisconsin backroad bikers?
Yeah, it's him. He said sometimes it's easier than traveling 15 to 20 hours to get to where you want to ride. You arrive rested and ready to explore on 2 wheels, fly, rent, and ride. He said he's going to.
What's that one?
I made a decision on Sunday at noon that I wanted to ride in the Colorado Rockies. 9:30 Monday morning, I was leaving EagleRider from Denver Airport, actually located in downtown Denver. Super easy.
Wow.
Boom.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, that's testimonials.
That's not a plant, everyone. that's real. And that's, we'll do 100,000 people this year on our motorcycles, and every one of them has a cool story like that.
Oh, yeah.
And people from, and I love hearing stories like that. People from all over the world. I mean, we get people that walk through the door. My office is where our LAX location is. Yeah. It's amazing because we'll get people that walk through the door that live 3 blocks away, and 3,000 miles away, and then we'll get people that flew across an ocean that have been dreaming about doing a trip in the Southwest or down Route 66 since they were kids.
I went to your location, and we did, and I got a trike because I had a broken leg, and we had to keep riding. So
you rode it. You went for a ride with a broken leg
on a trike.
That's commitment.
The show must go on. You know?
That's a great thing about it.
But he rode me down there on the back of his bike, so I was a passenger, and I've really never been a passenger. So when you're a rider and you're sitting there, not that I was worried about riding skills. I knew he knows what he's doing, but it's like you want to do stuff and you're a passenger, but our wives, they have no desire to ride. They want to be passengers. So it's perfect. Yeah.
So you mentioned what do you ride or what do you own?
I don't own anything anymore. I've owned several bikes.
Excellent choice.
Over the years, but I have, it's funny. It's gone now because they took it out, but I had in my office, I had one of the new,
Pan America?
Yeah. I had one of the new, thank you.
Yeah.
I was drawing a blank.
I just know that bike's kind of cool. And
the first 4 Pan Americas we got from Harley at the LA location, and it's kind of a badge of honor when we get a new model or the new bikes for that year. We get like 2,000 new bikes every year, right? New Harleys, and is to be the first one to ride it. So especially on the Pan America, like, look, I'm gonna be the first one to ride this Pan America. So I actually took it and rolled into my office, and it sat and I was trying to hide it. So it sat because it was a low season. It was the winter, right?
Right.
So I had the Pan America sitting in my office, and I did a couple of video, some other podcasts, and I'm like, that's so cool. You have a motorcycle in your office. I'm like, well, I'm actually hiding it. But my bike of choice is hanging on your wall right there, which is the Road Glide.
Okay.
For me, I'm a bigger guy. It just, with that fixed fairing, that illusion, at least that you have more room in the bike, and it just feels like a second home to me over the years. It's almost exclusively, if I'm doing a long ride, that's almost exclusively what I'll jump on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were on street glides before, and Lance was the first adapter to the Road Glide.
Well, when we got our street glides, they weren't making road glides at that time, but we like both bikes.
Right. But so I was like, I don't think so. I don't.
Yeah. Street glide for me is like if we're going to bop over to El Segundo for lunch or just do a quick ride up the coast to because it's a nice day and we want to burn a couple hours and don't feel like working, then I'll jump on a street glide.
But I like to climb hills on the dirt and stuff.
On a street glide.
Yes. And to me, that fairing I'm not as confident with that one.
Well, I think if you did it one time,
I'll show you some pictures.
I think if you did it one time, you'd be fine. You'd like.
I'll burn it a little bit, but I like that dirt bike kind of a thing too. But I will tell you, because people ask us all the time, they're both great bikes.
Yeah.
But I really enjoy my Road Glide.
It's.
I think I get a bigger pocket of wind around me, so.
I totally agree. I love it. Even with the cut down.
Yeah.
The cut down fairing. I like the wind. I like to feel a little bit. I don't want to be completely cut off from the wind when I'm riding. I mean, to me, I love that term, wind therapy. And I always feel like I need some of that wind at least to knock some of the crap from your daily life and from work and all that. And that's what we love about riding, though, right?
Well, we put lowers on ours as well, so it's almost like the Road Glide Limited. But the amount of miles we put down to be in that more comfort, because the lowers blocking here, and you've got Klock Werks windshield and
we started wearing full face helmets.
Yeah.
Because we do so many miles and the weather can change. We've been in 120 or 118 in Needles, and the next day we're in Littleton, Colorado, and snowing on us. So you need that,
But when we first started riding, we have pictures, 3/4 helmets, or I had a brain bucket.
Yeah. That's how I started back in the day with no helmet, and then you go to the brain, which is crazy, right? But then you go to the half shell. But I wear the same thing exclusively for years now. I mean, probably 10 years or more, almost exclusively full face, just because it's when you burn a lot of miles. And then once you have kids and more responsibility, it's like, I got to take care of this.
Well, and I think
the moneymaker
get into like a rainstorm where, if you have the 3/4 with no shield, you're just getting pelted with. Yeah. This is at least giving you a little bit of protection, bugs, whatever.
We rented. Now, did we have EagleRider bikes? We did have EagleRider when we went to Hawaii.
Yeah.
That's what they were. Okay, yeah.
It's funny, you'll see, and I've seen everything over the years, seen the rentals and the tour people come and go from LA and Vegas or Chicago or the locations that I visited. But it's always funny, especially, I don't want to pick on the Germans or the Europeans that will come over and that are, and most of the people that come to EagleRider and rent a Harley-Davidson, they don't ride one at home. They might, in England, they ride a BMW, or in Italy, they ride a scooter or a Kawasaki, or whatever they ride. But they have this feeling that when they come to the U.S., my wife said I always touch my chest when I'm talking. That just made me think of that. But when they come to the U.S., they want, I'm going to ride the Southwest. I'm going to do Route 66. It's got to be on a Harley.
You got to do it on a Harley.
So it's funny to see these guys, men and women, show up, and you get the guy that's got the $1,000 helmet and the full Kevlar bodysuit with all the padding. I mean, they look like they're a MotoGP racer when they're coming in, and they roll out, and 2 weeks later, you see the same group of guys roll in, and they're in Levi's with a pair of black boots on, and they got a T-shirt rolled up, pack of smokes and a half-shell helmet. It's like some kind of transformation on the road happens to these, especially these Europeans that come over. That man, it's so cool when you hear their stories of. We did a tour. We haven't run it for a while, but it was a really popular tour that was the EagleRider movie tour, and we found this guy. It was nuts. We found this guy, or he found us, I can't remember, that had spent years researching the actual route that they rode in the movie, from right there in front of the airport to the throw down the watch scene and Ballarat and the whole route. And he had it all mapped out. So we hired this guy, and he wasn't a trained guide, but we had him ride with our guides. Right. So we sold and we worked with the production of the company that owned the movie rights, and we got the rights to do the official EagleRider movie tour. And these people that would come over to do this tour were blown away. And the stories, oh man, like I had the poster on my wall when I was 10.
Right.
Like I've been dreaming about doing something like this for 30 years. And we built 2 replica bikes. We built a Captain America and a Billy bike on modern Softail frames, and they were just as uncomfortable to ride, I think, as the original. We tried to do like the exact original seat of Captain America, and then we would put them on a trailer that would follow the tour, and every day we would roll them off the back, put their bike, and people could take turns doing the actual route on those really bikes, and we'd get the video, and we stopped in Ballarat, and we bought all these on Amazon, just bought a gross of like cheap $4 gold watches, and we videoed everyone doing the scene where they take off the watch and throw it down, and like these people, the looks on their faces, and the
did you have a suede jacket with?
Oh, we had the whole thing, man. We still have both those bikes in the showroom in LA.
I saw them.
Yeah, we have a little mannequin next to it with the fringe jacket and the hat, and we bring them out at parties and fire them up, and people just go crazy.
That's awesome. But Route 66, the old West. If you're going to do that, Harley-Davidson or an old car, why do it? I mean, that's the nostalgia, and people in Europe, they're going to say, I want to go ride Route 66 on Harley for sure. That's
we don't bag on whatever you ride or drive. We just want you out.
Yeah.
But he often says, when you talk to people from other countries, or you talk to someone about doing a Route 66 or doing the Wild West tour or whatever it is, you want it to be done on a Harley. You want to hear the thunder. You want to feel the soul. And you're right. I mean, it's funny because we run into groups, and for the last few years, the groups weren't able to come into town. Right. And since things have been lifted, it's good to see them back out riding again. We ran into a group of German guys in Sturgis, and it was like they were so happy to be there. But I like the Kevlar story to now they're just wearing Levi's.
I'm telling you, it's 50% of them. They all come in just totally buttoned down, but again, it's something they're looking forward to. I think anytime you're coming to another country,
right?
It's just like if the 3 of us were going to go do a ride in Ireland on our own, and it's on the other side of the road, and we've never been there before, and if you don't have a guide, because as cool as our guided tours are, they're not for everybody. And there are far more people that come over, just rent a bike. Hey, I'm picking up in LA on this date. I'm dropping off in Denver on this date. And we have no idea where they're going in between, it's cool.
We had one trip where we were out at the Navajo Bridge in Arizona. We were in Page for a week doing a thing. And we pull into the bridge, and we're getting off our bikes, and these 2 beautiful brand new blue road glides pull in. And we're like, wow, look at those guys over. Let's go say hi. And they wave. And then we go over and talk to them. And they're like, we were just watching your video on the airplane. We got our EagleRider bikes in Vegas, and there they were. So we had a conversation with them. They took a picture with us. It was just a funny coincidence.
Yeah, they flew in from New York. And it was a promise. The two of them wanted to go do this loop, and they were watching our stuff about the loop because they know that we had done it before.
Yeah.
Like on Instagram and everything.
Is there, I'm going to sound like my 13-year-old daughter right now, but is there a better selfie spot in the U.S. than standing on Navajo Bridge with that river behind you? I mean, it's crazy.
That's great. That and Horseshoe Bend. But on the Navajo
That's
Bridge,
true.
you can
Where
have your
else?
bike there on the bridge.
Right.
But Horseshoe, you can't have your bike.
Yeah. I love that ride. I've had the good fortune just based on my job to ride motorcycles all over the world. But for me, I still think the best, and I've been everywhere. I've been on motorcycles in Japan and Russia and Ireland,
Nice.
and Scotland. And I still think, maybe I'm biased, but the best riding in the world is right here in the US. I think just in terms of broad
Long roads.
landscapes
Yeah.
and the fact that you can, even here in California, the fact that you can leave from LA and ride along the coast in the morning and then be up in the mountains in the afternoon and then spend the night in the desert.
Right.
There's not a lot of places in the world that you can do a trip like that in one day,
No, and we're pretty lucky to have that.
especially out here where you guys are.
Right.
You're not stuck in where I am. You got to ride an hour on 405 or 605 or something just to get out of town.
We can be at the beach in 40 minutes or so, and we can be up in them. And actually, we have some mountain ranges around here that I would put up against the tail of the dragon. Just in terms of the curves and the twists, and maybe not some of the beauty, but I don't know. We loved Tail of the Dragon. We just wanted it to be longer.
Yeah.
And it's not that long. And so when we hit it at the perfect time of year, it wasn't wet. There wasn't, wet leaves in the road. It was pretty cool. I kind of like Cherahalla Highway better.
Oh, love Cherokee.
Skyway.
Yeah, Skyway.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. We have a tour that goes New Orleans to DC. That the first half is all blues trail, Clarksdale, Mississippi,
Right.
the Crossroads where Robert Johnson sold his soul to the devil, and we stop at all the markers and we set up every night live music. Some 90-year-old guy that's been playing blues since he was 10. I mean, it's just experiences along the way, but. Man, then we hit, once we hit Nashville, then it turns into more of the Blue Ridge and Tail of the Dragon as we're starting to make our way to DC. And we get that comment all the time about the difference between the Cherahalla and the Tail of the Dragon. Because Tail of the Dragon can get a little bit crowded sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's one of those bucket list items for most
I just
riders.
like riding for miles, 40, 50, 60 miles, just in the backbone of nature. And we actually just stumbled upon Tellico, which is a little town as we're coming up into Cherahalla, Tellico Lodge. And actually we have a picture of us where we signed 2LaneLIVE, and people are going into this garage at this lodge. And if they take a picture with us, with it, the signature, then they get a free pair of gloves.
Right
How about
on.
that?
So, I mean, that's a cool thing. I mean, that lodge, his wife found, we were late night looking for a place to stay. Go in there. It's a beautiful lodge. And this is the stuff you find on the road.
Yeah.
And the guy gave us a little tour, and he goes, if you want to put your bikes in the garage, he's got this probably 50 by 50 garage, all white wall brick, and everyone from around wherever they were, they signed the wall. He encourages that. So there's just stories. It's a story room, and he has towels to clean your bikes. And it's just,
Yeah, I went in and I said, hey, we don't want to ruin the towels, but the bikes got a little wet. And he said, I told you should have parked in the garage. And I'm like, yeah, we probably should have. But do you have some older towels we can use? And he goes, well, below your sink, I'll give you some right now, but below your sink, there are towels. And there's a note on it that says, use these for your bikes, please. So he takes me into this garage, and he's got towels, and he's got cleaning materials. And he's like, yeah, if you guys want to wash your bikes, or, I mean, it's
awesome.
really motorcycle friendly there.
I almost miss the old paper map days, because that's how you would explore, and you would find those out of the way places, and you're not bound to just following the path. Okay, maybe move over because this road looks cool on the GPS.
And you had to pull over and have a conversation and open the map. And
it was the
look,
best, right? I miss those days. And it's funny when we started. So I got a buddy, Eric Severson, who actually worked at EagleRider, and he was instrumental in me coming on there. But Eric and I have gone to school together since we were 5 years old, all the way through, played ball together, and all the way through high school. And then he went to UCLA, went to Washington State, and just stayed in touch. And he's been one of my best friends for years. And Eric started a tour company in like the late 90s. And he just one summer in 2000, he said, "Hey man, just come down and like drive the support truck." Back then, he just rented a truck. We throw the luggage in the bag, no support bike or nothing fancy like we have now.
Yeah.
And he was just getting into it, and we were still kind of learning the roads, but we had these great groups of people, and they would never know that every time we pulled over to get gas or somewhere, Eric and I are in the bathroom with the map open, almost in a fist fight, fighting over where we're going to go. But man, that's like the kind of the Wild West days, or the early days of, as companies were just starting to, tour companies were just starting to pop up, and it was becoming a thing. But yeah, I miss those days of the paper map and highlighting your route, and then getting everybody at the end of the tour to sign the map, and giving it at the farewell dinner, saying, "Hey, such and such, Joe had such a great attitude," and everybody giving the guy props and handing him the map that everyone signed.
Right.
Just cool stuff like
That's
that.
definitely cool. I mean, we had such a great Route 66 trip, and that was way in the beginning of our channel. We left Santa Monica. He loaded an app on his phone, and it gave us a lot of places, and we found places. We tried to do as much as we could as we got into Chicago, but we found out that the app, there were a couple from Germany that made this app, and we're finding out doing what we do.
Nav.
There's a lot of people that are from not the U.S. that are so into Route 66, and they create apps and they create magazines, and it's amazing.
Route 66 is really interesting. And we were talking before that you guys have some plans, I know, to go run Route 66
on the
again
down the road. Yeah, which is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And you can still run probably 80% of the different versions of, there's the 1926 version, and there's the other versions. But I'll tell you a couple of things. But before you guys go, I'm going to hook you up with the coordinates our guides use, because we know every inch of the original roads that you can still run. So we'll take care of you guys there. No more German apps for you guys. On Route 66.
Awesome.
So you're going to get the EagleRider. And we'll do 50 guided trips down Route 66 this year. I was telling you earlier about our tour guide. We've got a guide, Richard Wincoop, that's been with us for as long as I've been there, so 14 years. And in October will be his 66th documented full trip down Route 66 with an EagleRider tour group. So
crazy.
We've got some cool surprises set up for him, and some media that's going to come right along, and everybody along. The guy knows he's a legend on Route 66, and he's a legend in the Route 66 community worldwide.
Well, we met a guy that, what's his name? Arizona King? Jim Hinkman.
I know
Hinckley.
I met Jim,
Jim Hinckley?
Yeah.
He gave us a lot of really cool advice, and we went to his statue unveiling in Kingman. He knows a lot of stuff.
On the way back from Sturgis, we just blasted into Kingman, and they were unveiling, and they got it right. He's not that tall.
Yeah.
Always got his
He gave us
hand
a
in
little
the pocket.
Yeah, he gave us a little tour of Route 66 out of off Beale Avenue, where people don't go anymore, but the original road out of Kingman.
It's a handful of people like him, and there's some great Route 66 historians here in the U.S., but it's really the level of popularity outside of the U.S. Route 66 is a bucket list trip for everybody, but most Americans that you run into, and people in Route 66, we've got stretches of it right here in Southern California, and people could care less.
Right.
Route 66 isn't the badge of honor or the bucket list for most American riders like it is for the rest of the world. We go to bike shows all over the world, and that's a lot of the ways I've been able to travel and ride, like I said, in places like Russia and UK.
But I think a lot of it too, maybe I'm just generalizing, but sometimes the American biker they want to get to a place. And so it's like you could ride from here to Williams, Arizona, and just do that all on the 40. Or you could get off, at Topok or something, and go up through Oatman, up into Kingman, back roads all the way out to Ash Fork, and be on Route 66 the whole time. You don't have truck traffic. You don't have any issues, and you're out in some beautiful country. And it's maybe 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
Maybe 30, depending if you stop.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll take a ride as fast as leave LA, get to Williams, Arizona, just so I can have dinner and walk up and down the street.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think a big part of it is that it's such a Route 66 outside of the US is just such it's Americana.
Nostalgia.
It's what they think of, and that we would go. I was mentioning going to bike shows around the world. You know, the UK, we go to 2 big bike shows. I mean, there's a bike show called Motorcycle Live in Birmingham, England. That's 10 days long.
Wow.
It gets several 100,000 people. It's insane. We have a booth there that's 4 times the size of the studio. And we hang a Route 66 neon, not an EagleRider neon,
Right.
a Route 66 neon on the front on either end. It's like a bug light. It's like you're like zombies coming over to this Route 60, and that's all they want to. We got all these. We got this. The whole wall is a giant map of the U.S., and all they want to talk about is Route 66.
Yeah.
I'm coming in like you guys. I'm gonna go in 2026. We're saving, and it's everybody from the multi-millionaire, the guy that owns 6 businesses to the blue collar worker that's been saving for 5 years to be able to come over and do the trip.
I mean, how cool is it when we're hungry, we're in Oklahoma, all we find is this dive bar, but they have burgers, and we go in there and there's 12 local people sitting in there smoking cigarettes and drinking beer, and we walk in and they're like, have a seat, and that's Americana. That's great. Love it.
I think people, again, I know I'm talking a lot about people coming in from overseas, but I think it says a lot about the country and our people, and especially the motorcycle community, and the way that people receive people that are on a bike, because there's a misconception out there, and I talk to them all the time, the Europeans or people from Australia or Asia that are coming over, that, Americans are loud and rude, and then they get over here and they have a million stories like the one you just shared.
Well, it's cool.
Yeah.
That's why we came up with, our whole vibe on our channel is we're shaking hands with America. And we've met so many great people from coast to coast, everything in between, that it's like, it's changed our lives and what we do, and the inspiration to ride more and share with people. It's just unbelievable.
But if we called ourselves 4LaneLIVEs, I don't think we'd have the same feel, because that's like, hey, we want to be in Niagara Falls, so let's just take the interstate all the way. Like, no, let's take pieces of the country and find the 2 lanes. And that's why we call it 2LaneLIVE. Find those off-beaten paths that you go in and people are actually happy to see you.
Yeah.
You go into a little town and they've been bypassed by that interstate. So we did a whole documentary on Route 66, just really from Seligman down to Oatman, and the amount of tourism that they lost for 2 years almost bankrupted them.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have to your point about American tourism, even though during that time period as well, there were more people out, but they were camping and doing other things. They weren't really looking at Americana type things, I don't think.
Yeah, they definitely weren't rolling down Route 66. For us, luckily we have a large domestic customer base, especially built around our Club EagleRider membership, that kept us going during COVID, because we didn't have that, the difference between the international rider that comes over and rents for 10 to 14 days versus the average US rider is 2 to 3 days. So you lose that long haul business,
Right.
But it was our club members and our domestic renters that kept us alive. But they weren't doing 66. They were grabbing a bike for the weekend and doing PCH or going from New Orleans and kicking around the Blues Trail a little bit. But
not only did they have the loss of the motorcycle tours. I mean, if you're on Route 66, you'll see buses pull up, and there's Asians and there's French, so they are taking that, to your point about people across the pond. There's more of maybe an attraction to it. And you're sitting at Williams one night and you see all the neon signs, and it's like, oh, I'm back in, the 60s. This is great. And we'll have people come up on these tours and say, can we sit on your bikes and take a picture? And we're like, yeah, go for it.
That's what I was just going to say, that the buses, they come in and they're looking at these towns, and we roll in, and now they're looking at our bikes. The best story is it's happened a couple times with people from India. We were at Hoover Dam, and there's a couple from India with their cameras. They're looking at the dam. We pull up, and they're like, Harley-Davidsons? Can we sit on your bikes? Can we get a picture on the bike? Can we? And they're just smiling and they're blown away. So,
well, they said, can we get a picture of the bikes? And we're like, get on them.
Right.
What?
You know, feel it, you know, and it happened at the Navajo Bridge.
Yeah.
And the wife, and it usually happens where the wife's like, my husband is so happy right now. He's not going to tell you, but he's like blown away that he gets to sit on this bike. And then they want to give you a piece of candy or share with you. And it's like, so you could rent an EagleRider or you ride your own bike and go up the coast and do this fast thing. But if you go out in the country and you meet people, shake hands, say hi to a veteran, say hi to the lady that's working in the restaurant or the guy, the gardener that's mowing a lawn, you meet these people in America and you're like, there's a lot of great people from all around the world that are Americans that live here and they have a story to tell. And the funny thing is when they meet you, they want to tell you a story.
Yeah.
And they want to hear your story. It'll make you want to ride farther and farther. Yeah. And that's why we're hooked.
We get that all the time in our groups. But I think, and for some reason, a group of bikes is more approachable than somebody on their own on a bike. And so we'll get that all the time. People coming over, especially on our trips in Baja, you know, that we do a trip that goes from LA to Cabo and back. And we roll into these small, there's nothing like LA between LA and Cabo except San Diego. So once you cross the border, you know, we roll into these small towns, into the little town square, and the kids. You know, if you look at the video that we have for our Baja motorcycle tour, it's, you know, that's not staged. There's like 15 kids that come running out and want to jump on the bikes and get pictures and do all those things. And it's just it's cool the people that you meet along the way. And you know, one of the things that I love, if you know, you look at a tour group. And I'm a little biased towards tours because it's my baby at EagleRider.
Right.
It's something I've been doing since 2000, 2001. It's the beginning of the tour. You'll have, let's say 10 to 15 bikes. And you've got people from all over the world. You've got two couples from Italy that know each other. You got a couple from the UK. You got a few Germans. You got a guy from the East Coast, a couple Australians. You know, they're always going to be fun.
Right.
And they've never met. And the first night, the welcome dinner that we do, it's a little quiet and they're all kind of getting to know each other. And the first day on the road, it's funny because as you leave, I'll use the Wild West as an example, or if you did Route 66 out of Chicago, there's only one way out of Chicago, but one way out of LA.
Right.
It's on 405 or on the freeway. You know, so these guys, they ride 400 feet and then they're on 405 for 50 minutes until we get get off the freeway or take a highway. And then we take a little break and you have to like peel their fingers off the deal. But it's amazing. You watch them ride for the first couple of days and they're pretty spread out. And every day they get a little tighter and they're all getting to know each other and they're hanging out. And you see them hanging out at the bar, going to have dinner at night once we've parked the bikes for the night. And at the end of that week-long or 2-week trip, there's what used to be a custom bike shop in El Segundo called South Bay Customs. Very cool place, by the way, if you ever want to throw a cool party. Phenomenal music venue, and it's an Americana mini museum. Like, it's unbelievable. What we do, we host all of our farewell parties there. So end of the tour, we throw everybody in vans, and we have a live band that comes in, and he does this amazing smoked brisket and pulled pork. And if you just hung out, just went and just stood against the wall and watched for an hour, you would not be able to tell the people that have known each other 20 years or 2 weeks.
Right.
That's how tight that group becomes, and the bonds that are forged from spending time on the road together. And you guys know it, and I know it, and anybody that rides or rides with a group of friends knows it. But that's the one thing I always encourage people. It's great that you know, people usually have their group of friends that they like to ride with, but get out there and, you know, expand your circle, and find some new people to create bonds with while you're on the road, you know.
Well, we don't expand our circles at all. I mean, maybe twice a year, 3 times a year, we'll add what we affectionately call them the young guns. They're getting older now, so I don't know if we can keep calling them that. But
it's different when you're shooting content.
Yeah.
I did my first solo trip a few years ago, and which I'd never done. Never did a longer than a day trip by myself. And I took a trip from LA to Seattle on a road glide, of course, all the way up the coast the whole way. And it was incredible. It was a completely liberating
Oh yeah.
I was so worried about getting bored. But man, I had a blast because you stop when you want and where you want. If you want to just pull over and take a glove off and snap a quick photo and jet back onto the road, you can. And man, I had a great time. That's another thing I would, encourage people to do is don't be afraid to
smell the roses.
Take that trip by yourself and reconnect with yourself a little bit.
Right.
Well, part of it is the shooting. I mean, we get people asking, has it changed the way you guys do things? And I mean, a little bit. We still mostly all get along all the time. We still try to enjoy. I mean, it's lengthened our days. That's for sure. Just because we're stopping, picking up content or drone shots or what have you in it. But it's also created some epic shots for us coming in at dusk.
It's part of the adventure,
so
for us,
I don't think it's, and I think if we were just like hardcore content, we're having fun.
Yeah.
We're trying to go to new places. We're trying to see new things. We were talking about it the other day. Sometimes it's better, like with Paige, we were able to spend the whole week there and go out to the different points of interest where we're passing through stuff. And if we would have just spent maybe a day there and went on a hike, we would see some really, like we go through Zion, been through there, 10 times?
Yeah.
12 times. One of Josh's favorite spots, but we've never stopped to go on and do a hike.
Yeah. Take the tram or the thing up to the valley.
No,
we're on a mission.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's spectacular. And so, but it's more about if the liability of having someone with us. Yeah. You said we're making a living at it. We're not making a living at it. We're trying. So for those of you that need to buy from us, 2LaneLIVE.com, that will help the cause. But we're doing a little money on the side, and it's paying for the trips, and we're growing it to where it will become more of a business. But we don't look at it. I don't think we look at it as really a job. We're looking at it as more of we're storytellers, and this is a way to tell the story. And if we can do it in a way where we can make a little bit of money so that we aren't digging into our savings all day long, that's okay. And that was the way we set it up originally.
Yeah.
But we're doing it. It's what we do. So,
in fact, we were just on with Jay Leno.
Right.
Yeah, you guys are doing all right. I mean, you got to hang out in Jay Leno's garage for. Right. I mean, I saw that. Like, how cool is that?
Go back and watch the video, you guys. It was dropped yesterday. It's great. Jay's an awesome guy. We had so much fun with him, and hey, he invited us back.
So I think the backstory behind that is his son-in-law was he works with the Property Brothers.
Yeah.
And met was doing a project for one of Jay's guys, David. And he kept pushing hey, tell David what we do. And so finally David said, okay.
Finally, Mark said,
yeah.
But
David invited us over we thought maybe we'd meet Jay. And it's like, he just took us on a tour of the shop and really vetting us, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We're not crazies or something like that. And so he said, here's, you guys, it's all up to you what you pitch and how you pitch it. He said, send me an email and I'll get it in front of his person. And 4 days later, we got Jay's open to it. And we're like, what?
Yeah, that's cool.
And so we went over there, and as we pulled up, he pulls up on an electric motorcycle. He goes, get those Harleys out of here, right? And then he pulls in and he comes over, shakes our hand. Josh was getting B-roll. He was touring us around. It was just like we were really good friends. And we want to thank him. He was so open.
He's very personable.
Yeah, that was incredible.
We got a phone call on the cell phone. I'm looking, going, no ID caller. I'm like, I never answer these.
It's the government.
And I actually went like this. And they went, well, I go, hello. It's like, hey, Lance, it's Jay Leno. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. That's not a bad call to get.
Yeah.
No, and I mean, he's preserving history there, and the collection he has is absolutely insane. And then he's got this shop that he has, and he employs like 7 mechanics full time, and
welders, machinists,
fabricators, and they have this beautiful kitchen, granite countertops, and we're walking by, and he goes, "You guys want some ribs?" And we're like, Josh and I, like, hell yeah, we'll take some ribs. So we went over. Hands us ribs to eat. I mean, he was just such a personable guy. And it wasn't like we were starstruck. We were just personable with him. And then, so we pitched that we were going to just spend 45 minutes with him on the Brock motorcycle collection. And then we were hoping that what happened did happen, which is what we showed. He would warm up to us and then take us on a tour of the place.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. So we knock on wood, we got lucky. It's fate.
Well, the cool thing about the really cool thing about him is he can walk up to any machine in his warehouse, and he's got hundreds of them. And he can go to a 100-year-old motorcycle and go, oh yeah, this one you have to pull this out. You pull this and you pump the and you start it. And he goes, I ride everything I have.
Yeah.
I work on everything I have. He goes, because what's it here for? You got to use it.
Right.
I can't remember which one he was, but I love the part when you guys were trying to kickstart the bike. Like,
oh yeah,
get in there, get on it. Yeah.
Don't be scared, boy.
Yeah.
Josh is filming, and I start smelling gas, and we look around the bike, and it's just pouring. So he goes and grabs a towel, hands it to me, and says, "Clean that up." And I'm like, so then he's like trying to fire it up, and I'm going, "It's coming out the carburetor." And I'm like, "It's like, or the throttle body," and I'm like, "Man, we got it. It's flooded. You got to figure this out." It wouldn't kick over. So,
but I guarantee you, when we left, you went back and worked out until you got it started.
Yeah,
you know?
It's funny, you talk about celebrities that ride. I've seen. I don't know if I mentioned before. I've seen him up at the Rock store a couple of times, and he's pretty. I never went up to him. I didn't want to bother him. He's always.
But he wouldn't care if you.
Everyone, he was very approachable. That was the vibe that he threw off. But you can imagine the type of business that we're in. There are a lot of celebrities that ride, and we've done. I mean, you name them, we've probably been on the road with them or provided them a bike, and I've had the opportunity to spend a week on the road, weeks at a time on the road with celebrities doing some private tours, and some I could tell you were awesome experiences that I thoroughly enjoyed, and some you wanted to rip your hair out after the first 10 miles, But yeah, some great times, and off camera sometime I'll tell you some.
Before we move on, you mentioned Rock Store.
Yeah.
Next Wednesday we have a great interview with the owner of the Rock Store. We're going to show you the Rock Store. We're going to show you the snake. So next Wednesday's drop. If you're not watching it,
that is the Mulholland snake, which has been closed for a couple of years. We covered some history, showed some aerial view and all that good stuff. So check it out.
What a way to go from Jay Leno to the Rock Store, you know?
Yeah, we did stuff in the early years with, we've done stuff with Pamela Anderson and Kid Rock. I did a tour where I took, this was an interesting one. It was John, and they were all buddies from back in the day when they were first coming up. It was John Cusack, who rides the Can-Am Spider, and then John C. McGinley who played Dr. Cox in Scrubs, but he's been in like 75 movies. I mean, you'll recognize him in everything. And then Chris Chelios, hockey legend, if you're an NHL fan. And man, that was an interesting, fun ride. I mean, we had a lot of fun, but I did Seattle to Montana with those guys, and it's funny when you first do something with celebrities like that. It's hard not to be a little starstruck. Yeah. But then again, there's something that happens when you're on the road on two wheels or on three wheels with somebody, as opposed to just being around them, where there's a bond that's formed. And we've gone on to do multiple rides with some of those guys, and that's just scratching the surface. David Beckham and Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, and just been able to do some really cool stuff. Probably my favorite one was probably 10 years ago now. Well, 10 or 12 years ago. Jeez. Early on, the time is flying by. But we did a ride out of Seattle with the cast of Sons of Anarchy fan ride.
No way.
FX sponsored, with the cast of Sons of Anarchy and the band Disturbed, who was just super huge at the time.
Right.
And yeah, some of my favorite photos. I think Joe had me send some to you guys, and one, me standing with all the full real cast, not the side players.
Right.
And that was, and we took them. We've shipped 75 bikes in our semis from LA to Seattle just to do a 2-hour ride, and it was a radio contest, and they flew in all these fans from all over the country, and we had to do it was what a cool day. And then we all got to go hang at the concert together afterwards. So just again, a job I go sit in an office, a lot of days like most people, but in between those days, I get to do some really cool stuff. I'm going to Austria in September with Chris McIntyre, who you guys had on the crazy, awesome, like genius.
We're gonna do that ride that he offered up last time.
Which one?
What's the ride he
Fokker C?
The ride,
which is like the European. So Chris and I are going to Europe, and probably our CEO ride. Carson Summers. We're going to go do Burning Eagle.
Burning Eagle.
And that's our little private.
Yeah. That was
that blows up. Yeah, that's super.
We were
fun.
somewhere we couldn't make it, but we were invited.
Josh,
I could have, and I've regretted not going ever since.
It is. It is an awesome time. It's 100. I mean, I think this last one there was 100, 110 of us, and it's growing every year just by word of mouth. And we take bands up there. We take over. This little campground that has hotel rooms as well, just outside of Death Valley, called Panamint Springs.
Oh yeah,
have you ridden up there? They got great steaks. Yeah, the guy that owns is awesome. But we bring the band that plays all our farewell parties, and then Chris is friends with Gilby Clark, who played with Guns N' Roses for a while, and he brings guys up there and they jam. It's like a 3-day jam session and whiskey bottles and beer and just good times, man.
You have to be 30 years old, Josh.
You got to find out what the dates are, though.
We got Josh. We have to get permission from his parents to go.
You can now add 2LaneLIVE as the celebrity.
Yeah,
right. I mean,
but if it's for your first time there, though, you have to get up and sing one song.
Oh, we do.
With the band, but we let you drink as much as you need to first. As long as you're not riding.
That's
right. But once you're at the show or when the band's playing, you're not riding anyway. You're there.
It's fun because we're dipping our toes now into the off-road rental and tour business, but mostly focused on the tour side. And we're doing some stuff that we're gonna test in Vegas and in partnership with Full Throttle Saloon out in Sturgis, probably in 2024. It's a little late to get it going this year, but we always we get some of our partners to send us some side-by-sides and some other stuff. And we used to rent dirt bikes out of some of our locations.
Yeah.
And we don't do it anymore, but we still have them. So we take a dozen of those up there and some side-by-sides, and then we have a lot of fun at Bird. So I hope you guys can make it. It's a blast. The ride up there is fun. It's cold because we do it in November.
We've been Death Valley all winter.
Yeah.
We go there every year in the winter.
Yeah.
We end up in Beatty, Nevada.
We're actually going to film with Harley. When this invite came last year.
Oh yeah.
We were going into Echo.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, we'll make sure we plan it around your guys' availability since you're going to be our celebrity guest for this year. But I'm excited. We were talking earlier about this. You're going to go ride in a couple weeks in probably my favorite place in North America to be on a motorcycle, which is Western Canada, and of course Glacier and Yellowstone. I don't know if you're going to make it all the way over to Yellowstone, but from Salt Lake up into through the Sawtooth and up into Glacier and Waterton Lakes and Banff and Jasper.
Well,
that's heaven to me.
We've been through Yellowstone. He has a cabin up in Island Park, Idaho.
Yep.
Yeah. And we on the way to Sturgis, we stopped there with all the boys once. That was pretty fun. Yeah. We brought the wives up there, but we've never been into Canada.
We've had a cabin for almost 100 years in that area, and I've never been to Glacier.
Isn't it crazy?
That it's not that far away, and so I was excited. I just hope we can get through the park. I saw something on Instagram the other day that they were clearing the roads and they were almost done. They had these big straight walls of snow through the road. I mean, it could be pretty interesting.
We've had years because we run the route on a really popular guided tour called Canada to Yellowstone that starts in Seattle and actually ends in Salt Lake. It's a 15-day trip, super popular, but it's always a crapshoot up through June. Even we've had years into July where going to the Sunrun wasn't open, but it's not like you said earlier. That's Glacier's awesome.
Yeah,
but man, the real unbelievable, just jaw-dropping beauty starts once you get into Waterton, and then man, when you get up by Banff and Jasper and that stretch of road between those two places and just hanging out, the lake, the color of the lake,
right? I'm excited to see it.
Is unbelievable. But the riding, we have I think I was telling you earlier, one of my favorite stories of that tour was a guy that's gone on to do different things now with his Mark Sloan, but he had this crazy, he said, boss, he talked like this. I got to send you this video. It's incredible. And he sent me like a, 90-second clip of riding along that road between Jasper and Banff with the group behind him. And he had a GoPro on the front of his bike, just facing forward. And so the first thing you see is a deer dart out and like run about 2 or 3 feet from his bike and then just run right next to him for a couple seconds and then shoot back into the woods.
Wow.
And then 20 seconds later, he's this rolling down, and then here's a black bear just walking down the ditch right next to the road, and just like where you couldn't script it better. And imagine these people that are paying our guided tours like that are very expensive. I mean, they can be $10,000, $12,000 a person. And that made the trip for them right there. The fact that
they're seeing the wild.
I'm on a Harley in Canada, and I just rode past a black bear, and we've had times where we're sitting in the lodge at Banff, and you're just sitting there like having a beer with everybody because we stay at the hotel right there, and we're cool. Once the bikes are parked and locked up for the night, do whatever you want.
Right.
Knock yourself out.
Right.
But you're sitting in the lodge there or at Whistler, and there's a grizzly bear just walking down the side of the hill, and it's just no big deal for the people that work there. But like, there's a grizzly bear right there. But that's the great thing about getting up into Canada. I'm like so excited for you guys to go experience that.
Well, we're doing the reverse of that 15-day trip, and we'll do it in probably 9 days with travel. So we're flying to Salt Lake, then we'll run up. I think we'll stay in Pocatello something the first night, and then run up to Whitefish. Then into Banff, we'll spend 2 days there. Then to Jasper, spend 2 days there. Then back down to Kamloops, and then into, I think it's Monroe or in Washington.
Are you gonna go Monroe?
Monroe.
Yeah.
And then back over to Seattle and fly out.
Right on.
So it should be really cool. Now, I thought I heard you say earlier, and maybe we talked about this at some point. So you're a Coug?
I am a Coug.
What do you say?
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs.
Yeah. There's not many of us.
Well, I'm not a Coug, but my daughter is.
Oh, no way.
Yes.
That's so cool.
She graduated a couple of years ago, but she's a beach girl. She wanted to be by the ocean. Well, we get home. We just signed her up for school, put the check down on the school, and got home that same day. And there was a postcard from Washington State. And she said, I feel like I have to go see this place. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, this is tuition here, and this out of state, you're going to kill me. But we booked the flight and we jammed up there, and she fell in love with the campus and the town.
Yeah. This has nothing. I will tell you a Washington State motorcycle story in a second. But that's the beauty of Wazoo and where it is in Pullman is, I think when I went to school there in the late 80s, early 90s, was, I went there in 80. I started in 89. And there were 17,000 people in the town and 14,000 were students. And there's nothing around except the school. It's not like going to UCLA or something where you can go get lost in the city or even UW. But that's so cool that she went there. I'll tell you. And
she loved it. And she was done in 4 years. She loved all the culture. Was Cinnamon Joe there when you were?
No, but the Coug, I spent all my time at the Coug, which was like 2 blocks from the house I lived in. So.
Well, at the tailgate parties, there's a guy, Cinnamon
Joe,
and he would set up a pop-up, and he would just serve, cinnamon. What is it?
Fireball.
Oh, Fireball, yeah.
Fireball Joe, and then he'd
Fireball Joe.
Yeah, and he just passed away a year ago. I think
that sounds very Wazoo.
Yeah, Fireball, it was. Joe.
So we used to sell before our partnership with Harley. We used to have to just buy bikes direct from dealers or from low mile bikes from auction. And then we actually had retail sales outlets. So we would sell to the general public. And I remember they called me over, like, you got to come check out this bike we just took on trade. I'm like, oh, this is stupid. What do I need to see a bike? You take like 20 a day on trade.
Right.
It was a Wazoo.
No way.
Custom paint job, like Softail. It was unbelievable. Who bought a Harley and like put a custom Washington State Cougar
The
paint
Cougar
job on
did.
it, and the fact that we took it on trade
Yeah.
in the
That's
out
funny.
of the same location I work at. So that's cool. That's cool. That makes you even cooler now that
Yeah.
that you got a Cougar in the family.
Well, one thing I would love to do, I'd love to ride up in that area, go up into Coeur d'Alene and some of the, it's just beautiful up there.
There's a stretch through an area like a town called Soap Lake where you ride along. It's called Dry Falls,
Mm-hmm.
and it used to actually be raging. You can tell it used to just be a huge waterfall, and it was part of a tributary of the Columbia River, which that ride along the Columbia.
we've
as
done
you
that.
as you ride from Soap Lake to Dry Falls, on depending on which way you're going, on your left
We
or
did the
right hand
Washington
side, there's just a canyon wall on one side, and you can almost just reach over and just dip your hand in the Columbia River on the other side, and it's just stunning.
Yeah.
Stunning scenery, and the same kind of thing you get when you're riding through Oklahoma
Right.
or Texas when you're out there in eastern Washington
Yeah.
or eastern Idaho. You get those small towns where you roll in and there's one gas pump and one place to eat and have a beer at the end of the day, and maybe a 6 or 8 room motel to sleep in. I mean, there's a million places like that. And so many. If people don't think of the Northwest, I think is a great. It's kind of overlooked as a riding destination, especially if you've got the Southwest and you've
Right.
got all those cool places. But you guys will find out as you're riding back through Washington.
Yeah.
There's some stunning scenery, especially if you go through the North Cascades National Park or scenic. It's actually a scenic byway, North Cascades Scenic Byway, and Lake Diablo or Devil's Lake has that same kind of color that you're going to see in Lake Louise. It's so oxygenated. It has that bright, almost Caribbean.
We'll get
Caribbean
a little
blue.
piece of it, but I'd love to do like mid Washington and do just kind of a loop through upper Idaho, back down through like Salmon, Idaho,
Yeah.
into Oregon, you know?
Oregon is one of my favorite places to. I mean, it's funny if you say like you mention any state, I always say that like, oh, it's my favorite place to ride. Oregon is one of the best kept secrets I think in the Western U.S. and some phenomenal riding in Oregon, and that ride up the coast. If you ever get a chance to do that stretch,
Yeah, we
just
did.
do the entire stretch
We
from
did
L.A.
that.
to Seattle.
Yep.
Oh, I see there,
we
yeah.
cut across, went into Portland.
Yeah.
And then some guys met us and said, hey, we'll take you out of town. And they put us on the northern side of the Columbia Gorge, on the Washington side. And we spun it. It was incredible. But we sat the same night. We didn't stop and get gas. And then we ended up in some little campground that had a pump.
No way.
And
Yeah,
we
$5
had
a gallon or
So many
something.
bugs all over.
man.
I mean, it was bad.
Yeah.
Did you do as you were going north out of Portland? Did you go the back road like Highway 30 that kind of runs the east side of Mount St. Helens? There's like a really cool road.
We were back in a deep canyon river.
We were just along the Columbia Gorge. I don't know. St.
Yeah.
Helen, I think, is down a little bit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right there, just right off of kind of
Like Mount
where you were
Hood.
before. Yeah.
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 But I think we were, I don't know, because it was canopies and trees, so we couldn't really see into the. Now I've been down on the Oregon side of it coming home.
Yeah. I want to give you guys some rides.
Yeah, we'll do
There's
it.
some stuff I think there's some cool.
We need to start planning for 2024.
Cool. Yeah. There you go. I'm
Right.
going to help you guys with your 2024 planning, but I do, we want to get you guys down to Baja too eventually. When we were talking about that, that's just an unbelievable place to ride, but definitely I think a place that's more fun.
Right.
And I think it's safe riding down there solo or with a couple of people, but I think the sense of security that you get from riding with a little bit bigger group down in a place like Baja but the scenery and the people and the food are unbelievable. There's a misconception of that riding in Mexico is dangerous or can be a challenge. And I think the complete opposite is the truth. It's one of the most welcoming and friendly places you can ride. And the scenery will blow you away. And if you go down at the right time of the year in the winter, some of these small towns that you stop in along the coast and, before you take off for that day's ride, you jump in a Tonga and the guy takes you out and you're 5 feet from these gray whales and blue whales. It's just unbelievable out there. So,
well, my son, he's been down to Mexico a couple times and he's vlogged them. And a guy that works with him, Juan, they go down there, and Juan's family's from there. They love to cross the border and they love to go ride around. They always have a quest for tacos. So it's part of their thing. And people love the videos. And I think on his next one, he said we can all go down there. But I don't know.
I spent about 10 years living. I spent almost my entire 30s living in Mexico, and then I would come up in the summer and run tours with my buddy. And had a bike down there, had a lowrider when I was down there. But man,
Where did you live?
Mostly Puerto Vallarta I spent some time, mostly Puerto Vallarta. I spent time in Cabo. I spent time in Playa del Carmen and Cancun. But man, what a great place to be 30.
We've been to Puerto Vallarta.
It was
And
fun.
then this last couple months ago, my family and I, we were in Playa del Carmen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice. It's beautiful. There's some great riding down there. And I have friends that I made down there that still live there, that are avid riders that have just completely, they've done the same type of riding in Mexico that you guys are starting to check off on the map in the US. So there's some great riding down there. You got to have your head a little bit more on a swivel down there because of the buses than you do here.
Now, when we just started riding, or when I first started riding Harleys, I saw EagleRider, and I thought EagleRider was Harley. I didn't know that they're connected but not connected.
We get that all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. We are the official rental and tour provider for Harley-Davidson in the US, which is great. And they're an awesome partner. They're marketing people. I know you guys work with John. We work with John and Jill, and just great people to work with. They're great partners. And, I think for me, it was so cool the first time when we first did the deal, the partnership with Harley-Davidson, and the leadership team, we all flew to Milwaukee to the headquarters, and to be standing
Right.
and having meetings in the Harley-Davidson. For someone that grew up, my dad had a 79 Sportster. I learned to ride on a Harley-Davidson. So, to be standing in their offices, and they have this floor that they had someone come in on a bike, that a professional drift racer come in or a flat track racer come in on a bike and do burnouts all over this new wood floor. It was just this is so cool,
Yeah.
Harley's been great to work with. And now we're expanding on that relationship into Europe. And it's taken us a while, but I mentioned before that we've got 61 or 62 international locations. EagleRider's on 6 continents now, like I said earlier.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
But a lot of those now are like what we have here. A lot of our US locations are inside Harley dealerships. And that's what you'll see if you go rent an EagleRider bike now in Munich or Frankfurt, Geneva, all over the UK. Now we've got locations. We just opened in Belfast, Ireland, and in Edinburgh, Scotland. Those are all inside Harley-Davidson dealerships in those countries. So that's what we're working on now. And now we're going to open some locations now in Paris. So there's not a lot of places all those bucket list rides now that people have overseas, and that really was spawned from our club members.
Yeah.
We have the $29 a month subscription, and club members earn credits, and they redeem those credits against the cost of renting a bike. And the average savings for club members, here's my one pitch of the day.
No,
they save 50 to 70%. I'll give you a good example, and then I'll get to my point. If you wanted to go rent a Street Glide right now, if you just walked in off the street or got online, if Josh got online right now and tried to rent a Street Glide for this weekend, cost $232 with sales tax and environmental fee, and then there'd be a $19 seasonal surcharge for the month of May, or I guess May and June is $19. So you get me in the $250 range. A club member, the value of the credits they redeem is about $116, $135. So, they're saving $120 over what it would cost them. And, you can roll the credits over for 18 months. So if you don't want to ride a bike, because there are bikes that cost 1 credit a day, there's bikes that cost 3 or 4 credits.
Do you have that link? You have that link on the channel here so they can see what he's just talking about?
He just typed.
Typed it.
Look, it's a great way. Club EagleRider is like a boat. There's phenomenal value in it if you use it.
Right.
If you buy a boat and it just sits in your driveway, it was probably not a good purchase.
Right.
If you join Club EagleRider and save up credits and never use them, it was probably not a good idea to join. But I can tell you, since we started it in 2016, we've had almost 35,000 people become members. And now we just expanded it into Europe. So now of the 60 plus locations that we have around the world, all of them accept Club EagleRider credits. So we've got over 120 locations now where a club member around the world can take and redeem their credits and rent a Harley-Davidson.
Well, and the cool thing with our viewers or anyone listening, if you go to 2LaneLIVE.com, we have an EagleRider link. You actually get a savings on the bike as well as 3 credits if you sign up for a club. How about
And
that?
3 bonus credits.
3 bonus
use
credits.
code 2LaneLIVE for 3 free credits too.
That means you'd start the day you join, you'd have 4 credits, which is enough to rent one of our smaller bikes for 4 days, or enough to rent an Electra Glide. I mean, Street Glide's 3 credits. So, within a couple months, you'd have enough credits to take a Street Glide out
For a few days.
For a couple days. Yeah, 2-3 days. And like I said,
Really?
the average savings for a club member is in the 50% range.
So just by paying the monthly fee, you could have Street Glide in a couple months?
Yeah.
Damn.
For a weekend.
Guess I'm getting
You're
this
in.
right.
So think of it this way: if you're looking to actually buy a bike and you have no idea what you really want to get, if you're like, I don't know, Street Glide, Road Glide, you can be part of this team. Rent the bike, ride the bike, and that'll help you make a decision.
I'm going to send you guys, I'm just thinking of this while we're here, but it sends you guys a QR code with an enter to win that we'll do, and we'll give away exclusively to 2LaneLIVE viewers and listeners. We're going to give away some.
All right.
We'll give away some Club EagleRider.
Okay. We'll
That'll be
we'll
great.
take that.
Yeah.
We'll push it for sure.
There'll be $1. It'll be $1 a month instead of $20. We got to charge by law. We have to charge
Okay.
something.
So it's $1 instead of $29.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Hey.
$1 a month.
I mean,
I like
people,
it.
you can throw $29 away easy a month on stuff that
Coffee.
you won't get any,
$1 a month. So now you're talking about incredible savings on there.
Right.
But we'll get you guys set up and we'll set you up with a few Club EagleRider memberships that you can give away to your listeners.
Well,
So-
that's awesome. And we're also talking about in talks with doing a 2LaneLIVE Wild West ride where 2LaneLIVE will guide the tour. We'll have a sprint van or something behind us. But we're working on those specifics with you guys now, and we want to start promoting that. So pay attention as we start for those of you that wanted to ride with us, this could be your chance.
this is a good chance for you to get, and it's a Wild West tour. So we'll be in our element, right?
Wild West tour is Laughlin.
It's an awesome tour. I'll start with that.
Yes.
It's LA to Palm Springs. So LA down, you got to on the first 50 minutes suck because you're on 405, but you just grab some throttle and just suck it up. And then once you hit the Ortega Highway, it's just all grins. Man, you're up over the Ortega and then drop back down along Lake Elsinore. And then you're back up. Once you go through Paris, you're back up into the mountains again. And then we come back down the Palms to Pines Highway and then come back in through Palm Desert, spend the night in Palm Springs that second night. And then from there, hit Amboy the next morning, ride through Joshua Tree, of course. That's how you start your day 3, and then hit Amboy and then Seligman and Peak Springs and all those fun places, and then actually spend that night on the south rim of the Grand Canyon. We stay in Tucson, which is just outside the south rim, but we drop all our luggage and take the bikes and go into the park that night, and everybody gets to watch the sunset with their feet hanging over the side of the south rim of the Grand Canyon. We actually include the helicopter ride over the Grand Canyon the next morning.
Wow.
Whoa.
Which is super cool.
Well, that's our favorite. The West Tour is one of our, we do that a lot.
Yeah.
So we love it. We spent the night on the south rim and it snowed on us all day. And
Those days, that happened to us in Bryce it was last year or the year before in October. We had a little group up there. We were just doing a fun kind of leadership retreat.
Right.
And we air quote that one. We do some cool rides. And we came out to our bikes the next morning to about a half inch of snow on the sea, but luckily it wasn't frozen. And it ended up, by the time you dropped down out of Bryce, it was a beautiful day.
Right.
Back into
That
Vegas.
always happens.
That Wild West that you guys are going to do, it's just stunning. And that
you get to see Monument Valley too, right?
Well, I was just going to say, there's that stretch that just blows people away. And I think the key to really to crafting a great on-road experience or a great tour experience is that you have to be able to, you can't have just one great day. You want it to be kind of build up to this crescendo where at the end you go, what was your favorite day? And when they go, I can't pick one, but there's that stretch that I just talked about where you ride through Joshua Tree, Amboy, Seligman, all those cool Route 66 towns. And then that night, you're literally sitting. I have a picture of me. You're sitting with your legs hanging over the south rim of the Grand Canyon, watching the sun go down. Epic.
Right.
And then the next morning, you're in a helicopter flying over the Grand Canyon. You're going, and then you ride the south rim. And then by 4 o'clock that day, 3 o'clock that day, we're in the middle of Monument Valley on a private, riding in the back of those pickup trucks on a private trip with Navajo Nation as their guests. And they've got a 10-foot bonfire going for us, and we're eating Navajo tacos, and they're playing music, and it's just, you're right.
So did you stay out there?
Like, how could this possibly be better than yesterday?
So
we roll back in and we stay at the hotel there, but
the hotel's in Monument Valley.
Yeah. And then the next day, like, you ride the Moki Dugway, and people are terrified until they start riding it. And it's like, we're going to ride that road that's like literally cut into the side of a cliff.
What do you mean? It's dirt.
Yeah.
Well,
the first time we found it, he was looking at the map. He's like, well, there's a road right here that cuts off about 50 miles. And we'll be, we didn't know. We're riding it and we're coming down the top and we're like, wow. So that was our first Moki Dugway experience. Well, here we are looking down at this vast valley. I mean, what a great trip.
Almost everybody makes it. We've never lost anybody, but we have had people go, I'm going to put my bike on the trailer. Or a lot of the wives that are going to it will jump in the van and ride up in the van. But
that is worth it. It's so spectacular.
We talk a lot about, the badge of honor. What a badge of honor to say, to be at the top of that thing and look down and go, man, I can't believe that I just rode up that.
It's 1,100 feet. Something like that.
Our wife sat in the back of the bikes with the GoPro and filmed for us.
Yeah.
Mine would have just been digging a hole in my neck with her fingernails. That, and then that night you're up cruising around Bryce Canyon. And I think people don't realize how that Bryce Canyon, the top of it is almost 10,000 feet. And the stunning views that are up there, especially if you hit it a little bit later in the day when the sun is, because the time of year you guys are going, if you do that trip in October, November, and it's going to get dark early. So and I think you will come out to a little dusting, maybe up there.
What's the covered wagons we stayed in? What town was that in? We stayed in these covered wagons in Utah, Torrey, Utah.
Torrey's awesome.
We had nowhere to stay, and we pulled in, and we're like, well, look at all these covered wagons. They're huge.
We were going to stay in Hanksville. Right. And so we pulled in and there's no vacancy. Even the diviest of dives didn't have it. So we had to run through the night, and we just happened across I looked them. I'm like, you want to stay in these? And we're all like, what the hell? And so we found them, called them. They're like, yeah, we have 3 rolled up. It was crazy.
They were awesome. They were clean. They were neat. They were covered wagons. But I'll tell you, this is the kind of adventure that you get when you're out there. We're out in the middle of nowhere. Before we got there, we just it's so dark.
Yeah.
We pulled off the side of the road and we laid there for a half hour just looking at the stars.
That's what I love about, riding solo or winging it with a group of friends. You would never have had that experience.
Right.
The flip side is there are certain times of the year where you probably want to have a reservation ahead of time, especially if you're staying in and around a national park. If you're looking at Bryce or, that's always my advice to everybody. Wing it, do your thing. Touring's not for you. That's great. Well, I love that you do it on your own. Just make sure if you're going to be, if you want to do a national park and be anywhere near it for a hotel in the summer, you want to do that in advance.
We've never had a problem. And last year we had 10.
Yeah.
It was
it was the mad rush of everyone that had been pent up and couldn't travel for a couple of years.
So the tours that you guys are offering are great because you do have the destinations, you have guaranteed rooms, this and that. I mean, we would start a trip and say, all right, we know we're going first night. We have a room ready, but we never know if we're going to turn left or right when we get up in the morning. So we kind of went with the flow, but it was easy because we weren't on a tour. We were filming and having fun.
And it's always worked on our behalf because we wouldn't have found these covered wagons. And at night they're lit up and you're sitting outside and looking at the stars and you've got a lit up covered wagon. And it's like, this is insane.
So cool.
So for anyone listening, yes, if you're new to touring and you want to get into it, I mean, it's a great way to start with an EagleRider tour because they're going to help you and show you, and we're going to have one and we're going to help you and show you. So it's good. It's a great value.
Well, what we try and do is have something for everybody. And again, the bulk of if you just look at pure number of contracts or number of people, the majority of what we do is rent, whether it's groups or individuals. We'll do, like I said, 150, 155 guided tour departures this year. A third of those are on Route 66. The rest of them are spread out. Maybe a third Route 66, a third Southwest, and the other third is Canada Yellowstone and the Blue Ridge one and Baja and those. But really, and then we have the kind of in between is, hey, I don't want to ride with the group, or I'm on a little bit of a tighter budget, which we all are on these days. I like the idea of having the planning taken care of and having the hotels booked, but I also like the idea of having a little bit more, freedom if I want to stay a little longer at this stop or,
right.
So we have self-guided tours, which we give you the bike, the hotel, the itinerary. We put the turn by turn, Google Maps, essentially turn by turn in your phone.
Yeah.
We have an app called our mobile tour guide app. It's pretty cool. But we've also spent 4 or 5 years now. We have thousands of points of interest all across the U.S. They won't pop up when you're riding, but when let's say you're on our self-guided tour of the Blues Trail, and you're standing in front of a historic juke joint, and a little thing will pop up on the mobile tour guide app, and it will tell you all about that juke joint and its place in history and why it's so significant to that area or to that period.
Right.
So we have 2,000 or 3,000 of those points that will pop up all across the U.S. So I think self-guided is a great way to go for someone, again, that it's just me and my wife, or it's just me and 3 of my buddies. We want to get bikes, but we want the help. And we've got 170 of those on the website. People can just go in and buy that. But about half of the self-guided tours we do are people that go, all right, I like the idea of this itinerary, but can we swap this day for that day? Or I want to stay in the covered wagons in Torrey instead of at the hotel in, at the National Park in Bryce Canyon.
Right.
Or I want to stay at the hotel on the Grand Canyon instead of a mile outside in Tucson, or I want to stay 2 nights here. So,
El Travar.
yeah, and we've got cool young guys and girls that love to ride, and we chain them to a desk 6 months of the year, and they build these tours because our peak booking season isn't the peak riding season.
Right. So
it's cool because we incentivize them, and they work hard, and they do a really, really great job. But then we cut them loose on a bike, and it's their dream. It's these young people that love and just have a passion for riding, and they go, man, I'm going to work my ass off, and then I get to go take off for 2 weeks, and I get to go actually do one of the tours, and we cover the cost of everything for them. We give them, we send them out on a guided tour with a group, or we send them on their own self-drive, and we cover everything for them because we want them. How can you sell something
that you don't, right,
and get somebody excited about a trip if you haven't done it?
Right.
We want these guys to go. We want them to be able to sell the experience from their own personal perspective.
Can't be passionate.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think, to your point, we've had people that are headed down to go on a group guided tour. We've had people that have done their self-guided in studio saying, here's what I'm doing.
Yeah. And
then we've had probably a few more people saying, we've got our own idea and we're just running, and here's a big loop that they're making. And so it's like a third. It's kind of interesting that way. Yeah.
The guided tour is not for everybody. People that do it love it. And we've had so many people go, I did not want to do a guided tour, but my wife insisted on it, or my husband insists on it. One of the great things about it is you're not limited to what you can carry in the bike, because we have a support vehicle. You can bring 9 suitcases if you want. So they all say, it's not really my thing. And then they finish and they go, yeah, this was the greatest trip that we've ever been on. We made so many friends. We're already planning where to meet up back home with these guys, and we're planning our trip for next year with them. So,
but you think about it, you're putting $1 down for an experience. And if you guys have got these helicopter rides and these bonfires and immersing them in culture and the experiences now, like I could pay twice as much and do this because it's so cool, you know? Yeah. And that's the same thing. And like we try to do here with our customer service is like create an experience that they'll say, hey, I like what these guys are doing. I'm going to refer some other people into them because they know what they're talking about. They answer the phones. They call us with their questions. We're engaged with them.
Yeah.
You know, and
it goes to what he just said. They see us on the road. They know we ride. So when we tell them, here's what you got to do.
Yeah.
They trust us.
I love it. You guys are becoming great ambassadors for our company, and we really appreciate it. It's I think that it's getting over that idea of, I'll tell you a story. We used to be a sponsor at Buffalo Chip at the concert venue. So we're partners with Full Throttle Saloon now, and we still love the guys at the Chip. And every year we would have a booth there, and I went for like 5 years straight just because it was my excuse. They took really good care of us and the VIP at the concerts and all that stuff, right? So, but I'd have to sit in this booth all day with a couple of buddies from work, and we'd hang out, and you'd always get the guy that would come over. You know, it was the guy that looked like, you know, Santa Claus with his suspenders on and his shirt off and his big belly hanging out, and it's 9 a.m. He's got his beer in his hand, and it's great. I love that guy. That's who I want to be when I'm 70.
Sounds like Lance.
But they would always say the same thing. You get 4 or 5 of them every day. Why would I rent a bike? Like, why would I ever rent a bike? I'm like, well, where are you staying? I'm at the Holiday Inn. Do you own a house? Yeah. Well, why would you ever stay in a hotel? You go, what? What are you talking about? It'd take them a second.
Yeah.
You know, again, it goes back to what we mentioned earlier. That's the idea with EagleRider. It's not meant to replace owning a bike. In fact, we have phenomenal conversion on people that rent a Harley from us and then go home and go to the dealer and buy one. And believe me, we keep all those statistics.
Absolutely.
And that's why I think our partnership with the motor company is so great. It's, you know, it's an extended test ride. You want to buy a new Street Glide, you can go ride one around the block or sit on at the dealership,
right?
Or you can join Club EagleRider or go into an EagleRider and rent one for a day or for a couple days
and really ride.
And I guarantee if you spend a day on that bike, and you get that emotional attachment to it, you're going to buy it. So that's my only warning to people. If you're test riding a bike through EagleRider, is you're probably going to go home and buy that bike. We had a guy.
That's okay.
Yeah. We had a guy, if we have time for another story, we had a guy come, we did a media tour in Baja. I could tell you, Chris was on this one, and this was after Chris McIntyre. And
tell him who Chris is.
Founder of EagleRider. I'll tell you 2 stories real quick. I know we're going over on time.
Let's
got no limit.
We got 2 times.
I'll tell you 2 stories. I'll tell you 2 stories real quick because they go together. So Chris and I know you guys had Chris on the show, and he's all personality, and that's not what you saw. That's Chris, unless he's sleeping. That's the energy level that guy brings. And I mean, I just spent a week or 5 days this past week in San Antonio at a travel conference with Chris and with Carson Summers, our CEO, and just Chris is never turned off. But he's I don't know if he talked about the early days of EagleRider with them going to Baja and him leading. He's a horrible tour guide. In fact, he's never allowed to be in front of a group because we do a lot of stuff with media. And this was probably my first year with EagleRider, and we did this partnership with the state of California, and they were providing hotels and flights, and we had 12 or 13 of the top motorcycle and travel media from all over the world coming in. In fact, I was on a trike because the only media member that didn't ride was this woman from Australia, and so I thought, all right, I'll just get a trike. It's easier. But I was the guide, and in the morning, and we're leaving out of Ventura, so we got to go down Lincoln to drop down. If you don't know that, it's just a busy 4-lane road.
Yes.
Not a 2-lane road. Lots of lights, but it's just 10 minutes of just sucking it up with all these traffic lights to get down to Santa Monica Pier and, be in, hit Highway 1 and be in Malibu. And so I give everyone the speech, safety, spacing, and I tell them, if we get separated at a light, just stay there, and everybody, no matter what, just stay behind me. And Chris was about 2/3 of the way back in the group, And I'm not kidding. We were on the road for 60 seconds, and he was riding Eagle One, which was the original, the very first EagleRider bike. It's beautiful, and it has a super distinct. Because that's back when we used to put pipes on all the bikes, and all of a sudden I just hear this, and here goes McIntyre just flying by, hauling ass, and then here goes every one of the media following him, and they were gone. It took us 2 hours to find them all, to find everybody, just because Chris couldn't. He just couldn't. It was killing him going 10 miles an hour. He had to go, and I said, God, don't follow him. So we were on this trip in Baja. We had another media tour. This is 3 or 4 years later, and same thing, big media, Men's Journal, Men's Health, Forbes magazine, Car and Driver. So this guy, Davey from Car and Driver, total hipster, right? And he said, I mean that in a good way, right? But Davey said, man, I ride a Moto Guzzi. Like, I don't want to ride a Harley. Like, well, this part of this trip is being paid for by the motor company. You got to ride a Harley. And he's like, I don't want to ride a Harley, dude. Like, I just have no desire to be on a Harley. So just come on. You got to ride a Harley. So he picks an Electra Glide, and he rolls into the hotel at Torrey Pines, just total Moto Guzzi. Cool, yellow helmet, the jeans rolled up. Like, he looked like a total Euro biker guy. It was just great. Completely anti-Harley. We put him on his Electra Glide. Chris was a good boy. He stayed in the group. And then we got back at the end. We did this amazing. We spent 4 days riding around Northern Baja with this group. It was unbelievable. And we get back, and was like pulling teeth to get this guy to buy a Harley. This is back when we were selling bikes direct to the public. Got back to our location in San Diego. Guy pulls out his checkbook and writes a check and buys the Electra Glide. He's like, oh my God, he spent 4 days on it and sold it to him. So
an Electra Glide even.
It was a black Electra Glide.
Wow.
He fell in love. He said, I don't want to say anything after like the first 2 hours. He's like, it was like I was in love with the bike, but within the first couple hours of riding it. But it's crazy. And I think that's what I love about Club and about the ability for people that are thinking about either transitioning or pivoting from another brand into Harley-Davidson or just getting into riding. Think about somebody, we've been working with the Motorcycle Industry Council, Motorcycle Safety Foundation on a way to incorporate Club into what they're doing, because we said, well, what's the number one question? We have guys that work for us that are motorcycle instructors, and they all say, well, what's the number one question people ask you once they graduate from the course? We asked this guy, and they said, what do I do now? Because they don't know. They don't own a bike. What are you going to do? Go buy an Electra Glide or go buy a big bike? You're going to buy a small bike, and then 6 months later, you're going to want something else. So we said, well, let's incorporate Club EagleRider into what they're doing. We'll front load it so they have the ability, and we'll build some rides for them. So that first ride, you might just go do a little jaunt around the city, get used to navigating stoplights. And the second one, you get a little bit rural. And the third one is maybe an overnight to somewhere really cool, from LA up to Big Bear, if you're in that area, or wherever you are. But what a great thing for someone that's thinking about getting into riding, or, hey, I'm signed up to take the basic rider course in 3 months. I would join Club EagleRider today. And by the time you graduate, you got enough credits saved that you can rent one of the smaller bikes for 6 or 7 days.
Right.
You can take a bike out every weekend for the first 3 weeks after you graduate.
Right.
Yeah. Then you know what you want to go get, or use Club for a year, then go buy the bike that you want, that you want to have in your garage.
Right.
Again, we don't look at Club as a replacement for ownership. It's a bike in your suitcase. It's just an extension of the bike that you already have. And
motorcycles take you to fantastic places in your life that you really never would know. I mean, 5, 10 years, no, way past that. When I was raising a family, if you said, would you ever be on a street bike? I'd say, there's no way. I'll never do it. Well, I ended up getting a Harley after my son was done racing. A guy talked me into it, and the passion, and then found out that he had a Harley, and it's like we started riding, and we came home from these weekends telling our families these great stories, and they're like, why are you not sharing this with everybody? Because you're coming home excited. So we started doing it. You turn the clock forward, we're on the phone with Harley-Davidson, we're on the phone with you guys, we're riding all over the country, we're educating people, we have a store with motorcycle parts.
Yeah.
I mean, this is crazy.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
I love what you guys are doing. I'm excited for your Canada ride. I can't wait to see the pictures and video. And I'm just trying to eat some time till the traffic dies down.
Yeah.
So, I'll say for another 2 hours.
I was just going to say, like, we have people approach us, somewhat frequent about sponsoring and doing, hey, put our product on or do this and we'll pay you this, and we don't take it because we don't know how it works. If you want to send us something and let us test it and we think it's okay, okay, that's cool. But we believe in what we're selling. We believe not only in parts, but our show. And there's some authenticity around it. And so our first time with EagleRider was in Maui and 15 years ago or something, 10 years ago, whatever it was.
In Maui.
And then, that's now transferred into, we've done a number of trips on EagleRiders for the East Coast and Kentucky. And we still have our own bikes, and we'll be doing trips on our own bikes. But the sake and ease and convenience for us to be able to fly somewhere, jump on a bike, drop the bike off, fly back home. We just don't have the time that we could do a 16, 18-day tour out there. We got to mind the store, if you will. So for us, even as much as we ride, we still use EagleRider. So
we love it.
I mean, it's simple. It's easy.
Yeah, it keeps people engaged. It keeps them in the sport. If you're able to access all your bucket list roads with a 2 or 3 hour flight, and leave on Thursday and be back at work on Monday and ride the I always say it wrong, Charahola Skyway and the Tail of the Dragon and go down to the Jack Daniels distillery and do those things and be back at work on Monday to tell all your buddies about it.
All good.
While they were watching their kid play ball or whatever. So it's great. And I appreciate you guys and what you're doing. I'm so excited for you guys and I'm excited to watch this thing continue to just explode in growth for you guys and to see where this partnership goes. And hopefully the three of us get to spend some time on the road together soon.
Baja.
I would say Baja for sure.
Maybe you need to be on that. What's the West tour that we're doing?
Wild West. Sure.
Maybe you should be on that with us.
Sure. I would love it. Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you coming up here. I know the drive's not easy, and for you to come in the studio, it just tells us a lot about your commitment too. I mean, we offered to have you sit at your home and do it that way, but it's actually, not done as much anymore where people actually meet each other. Yeah. And so we hear your voice over the phone. We're talking to you a few times and it's like, well, he seems pretty cool. But now you're in person. We know you. We always say we found a new friend. We've not met Joe in person, right?
Joe's like a young version of you guys. He's got the nice beard and I can't grow one. I can grow like a middle school kid.
I think beard, he was going to be, we were going to meet him in Sturgis last year, but something came up and I think he's had to stay out somewhere. I don't know.
Wait, didn't we?
Did we meet Joe or is it just John?
You guys all love Joe. He's a veteran.
Can't remember.
Is he?
Veteran. He's an avid rider. He's a family man. He's a great guy. So we have to get him in here and I could talk motorcycles and riding all day long. So as is obvious from the
thing that I've learned here is all the guys that we talk to at EagleRider that run the show, make the thing happen. You guys are all actually passionate riders. So your passion is showing in your rentals and your rides.
Yeah. Like that's the last thing I'll say is, just for the sake of time, is we use our mantra is it's built by riders for riders. And even Carson Summers, who came on like a week before the shutdown for the pandemic, Chris was looking to take a step back. We're very operationally heavy, and the guys like me, my skill set is in development and building things and customer experience. It's not in operations. And so they went and got a guy that has a ton of experience running entire continents for enterprise rental car. And Carson hadn't ridden a motorcycle in 20 years. He went and took the basic rider course, started riding. And now you can't get the guy. He's got 2 or 3 Harleys in his garage. He's got a gorgeous new electric glide. He's going to Sturgis. Like he's probably the most avid, like daily passionate rider now. And this guy wasn't on a bike 3 years ago, but I don't know from from the top down, I'm not aware, except for maybe some people in accounting, of people that work for EagleRider that don't ride a motorcycle and that aren't passionate about it. So yeah, it's awesome. It
a
makes
great
for some fun get-togethers.
You know, to start this up in your garage and have one bike, and I mean, what an incredible story to be now in 6 continents. And
it's hard to walk that line like that to scale. And you know, I think as you guys grow, you'll get a taste of this. Is, you know, to be able to scale and grow as a business and not lose that authenticity. And we've certainly made mistakes, and there have been road bumps along the way, whether it was with rentals or with club, but we work hard to fix those things, you know, and we've made a lot of changes, especially to Club EagleRider lately, that are really enhancing the experience for our owners. Like I said, expanding, opening all the overseas locations. But, you know, our goal is to just build lifelong, loyal customers that feel like they're getting, that we're reciprocating their loyalty with some value and with some great bikes and great experiences.
Well, travel is important, you know, and it brings those memories. And if you create an experience for someone that will never forget it, even if it's them doing a solo ride, but they're out on Route 66, and it's pretty damn cool. We're in kind of a cool industry right now.
We are. And you got cool socks. And your daughter went to an awesome school.
My daughter.
That's my number one takeaway from today.
My daughter's a Coug.
Go Cougs.
Go Cougs. So we appreciate that. If you haven't watched the Jay Leno piece or the Last of the Daughters, go take a look at that. Next week we have the Rock Store. Shawn, we appreciate you. We'll do 3, 2, 1, and we'll say see you down the road, and we'll throw the figure.
Before we do that, I want to know if he knows the guy from Route 66 Tours from Australia.
Dale. I just saw him. I just got interviewed by his biker bear.
So Dale,
at the travel show. He was at this big travel show we were at last week in San Antonio.
So we were up in Deadwood, and we were up at the 10 saloon upstairs eating, and he walked in and 2LaneLIVE, and he bought us a round of drinks, and you know, we were having dinner. It was great. So all right, now we can do the
there's a couple of those Australian guys running around out there. Yeah. All right.
Well, 3, 2, 1. See you down the road.
See you down the road.